Did the Holy City, Charleston, South Carolina, play a role in the creation of the world's most popular hymn? And why is Charleston, South Carolina known as the Holy City? For that matter, what is the world's most popular hymn? I'm the Seersucker Guy. Stick around, we're going to answer all of those questions. Our story is going to begin with John Newton, born in England in 1725. His father is away sailing on ships, and his mother's the one that raises him, pretty much reading from the Bible constantly. She dies when he's 7. He goes and lives with his father's new wife, but at age 11 starts sailing with his father. By 1743, he is pressed into the English Navy. Now, by this point in his life, John Newton is not a very nice man. He does not get along with any of his shipmates. He tries to desert at one point. He makes constant fun of everyone, and he curses, well, like a sailor. Now understand, this is the time of wooden ships and iron men. These guys give each other a hard time all the time. But John Newton was known for his cursing, using the worst words he could come up with, and actually making up a few of his own. He tried to desert the ship, ended up being tied to the mast and flogged, left there for 3 days, while he did not have any food or any water. Eventually, the Navy gets tired of him, and they put him on a slave ship bound for Sierra Leone. He doesn't get along with any of those people either, to the point where they actually leave him in Africa, and John Newton becomes a slave for a short period of time before friends of his father find him in 1748. On the return trip to England in early 1748, the ship that Newton is on is set upon by a terrible storm. It comes out of nowhere, cracks one of the masts, sweeps 2 guys overboard, and the ship is very much in danger of capsizing. And John Newton, this man who's been hardened by life, he doesn't yell, he doesn't scream, he doesn't curse. He gets down on his knees and he prays to God. And he said, God, save me from this storm. If you save me from this storm, I promise you, I will become a Christian and I will spread your word and do your bidding for the rest of my life. Now, we've all prayed to God in a moment of desperation, prayed for something and promised something in return. I'll never speed again. I'll never smoke again. I'll never drink again, whatever it is. Well, God looks into your heart and he knows whether or not you can do what you're offering. And in most cases, you can't, and you get what you need rather than what you want. In this case, God looked into John Newton's heart, and he saw that it was pure. And all of a sudden, the storm dissipated, and the ship limped back to port. And later in March of that year, John Newton became a Christian. Now, at this point, John Newton's conversion is not complete. He is still working in the slave trade. In fact, he's going to own 3 ships that carry human cargo. In 1749, though, he ends up in Charleston, South Carolina, known as the Holy City. Now, why is Charleston, South Carolina known as the Holy City? Well, from its very inception, Charleston had freedom of religion, whatever religion you were. It took just 7 people of like mind to form a church. Now, there was a catch. The official religion at this time was the Church of England. And if you were not part of the Church of England, you were considered a dissenter, and then you worshiped in a meeting house. At the corner of what is today Cumberland and Meeting Streets was the original independent meeting house. And it was there in 1749 that John Newton worshiped while he visited Charleston. Charleston today has over 400 churches. It's not lost on me or anybody else that while John Newton was worshiping God in church, that just a few blocks away, one of his ships was unloading its human cargo. John Newton goes on to trade in slaves for a few more years, but eventually moves on from that, saying later that he felt guilty about what he was doing from the moment he converted. And in fact, later on in life, he is going to write about the horrible thing that is slavery, and he's going to push for it to be outlawed. He does live long enough to see it outlawed, but only just. On New Year's Day in 1773, John Newton reads a new poem to his congregation. a poem that he called Faith's Review and Expectation. And as he looked out over the congregation gathered in front of him, he said these words: "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see." John Newton, a hardened man who converted to Christianity and then further converted by getting out of slavery, wrote what is today the most popular hymn in the world, Amazing Grace. The tune that you know today was added in the 1820s, and it's been the same tune since then. And it is the most popular hymn in all of Christendom. Now, did his time in Charleston, the holy city, have an impact on John Newton and his writing of Amazing Grace? We will probably never know. But when you visit Charleston, there is still a church at the corner of Cumberland and Meeting Streets. The original meeting house is long gone. It was replaced, and that building was burned in a fire in 1861. So the building there now is called the Seersucker Congregational Church, but you can still worship there in the same space that John Newton occupied when he visited the city in 1749. In fact, there's a program at the Seersucker Congregational Church called The Sound of Charleston. You can tour Charleston in many ways. You could tour its military history, its agricultural history. You could tour its architectural history, its garden history. And The Sound of Charleston is a tour of its musical history, going all the way back to the early 1700s and the types of music that would have been played in the city. And that musical program is fantastic. I hope you get a chance to see it. And they end it with Amazing Grace, sung a cappella in the exact same space that John Newton occupied in 1749. It's incredible to think that we can sing that song today where the writer of it actually spent time. I hope you get a chance to see that show. It's well worth it. Now, if you enjoyed that video, please hit like and subscribe. There are more videos coming. I'm the Seersucker Guy. Thanks for watching.